Welcome back to an instant reaction edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite. Richie, the football team has gotten another commitment in his class of 2024 in offensive lineman Judah Pruitt. He's out of Shabazz High School in Newark, New Jersey. He's listed at 6'5", 316 pounds. He's got a handful of Power 5 offers. Tell us what Rutgers is getting in this kid.
Yeah, so I mean, first team all conference offensive lineman, plays both sides of the ball, plays a little bit of D tackle for Shabazz. Shabazz got a new head coach in Nas Oliver. He was an assistant at St. Peter's Prep last season. He just took over the job, I want to say, back in January. And he's gotten a lot of guys to follow him to Shabazz and actually go back home and play for their local public school. Jeez, can't talk. So Judah Pruitt is just a massive lineman. He's an interior guy. With most of these high school linemen, they need to work on their bend a little bit. He's one of those, but he's got size, and that's what Greg Schiano wants up front. He's got a lot of potential. He's got some raw tools. He's mean. He's nasty. It's my favorite traits when it comes to linemen. Interestingly enough, so I spoke to him a little bit before the commitment and about his visit back on, what was it, the 11th, 14th, One of those days.
11th.
Yeah, there you go. So when he visited campus, I was like, "Oh, did you get to meet the new O-line coach?" He's like, "Yeah, I saw him. I saw him in practice, but I didn't really talk to him. Like, my main recruiter is Matt Walp." And I was like, "Oh, no shit!" Like, so
cool.
they're using some off the field guys more and more. It seems like, which is kind of what you have to do regardless. But you see Scott Vallone out there recruiting a lot of linemen because he's the assistant O-line coach. But I think Flaherty's role is strictly going to be coaching the guys, developing the guys, and they're going to let everyone else do the recruiting and the heavy lifting in that department. And you kind of saw it here with Judah Pruitt and the fact that he was coming back to campus for the second time within 10 days, a little over 10 days actually. So the fact that he did that kind of told you where he was leaning. And then he scheduled an official visit June 9th. He's good to go there, and then. This is a good get. This is a good get for a program that's kind of on the rise in Shabazz, and just a good overall lineman. He's not ranked currently for us. I'm pushing to get that fixed right now. I think he'll end up being in like the 20s in terms of lineman. I know we have him listed a tackle. I do think he's a guard in the future. I think Rutgers wants him as a guard. And you beat out some local programs in Boston College, Syracuse. Who else did he have? He had like the Old Dominions, Temples. Nothing crazy. I think he has a lot of tools, raw tools that you can work with, and that's kind of been the MO for linemen at this point. You get the massive dudes and you coach them up.
Yeah, he's been on a bit of a spring visit tour. You kind of mentioned some of them, but he visited Boston College in late March. He visited Rutgers, you mentioned. He visited Syracuse. He visited Penn State. So you're beating out some, the type of schools that Schiano was beating out regularly and should beat out for recruits. Penn State didn't offer him, but he was on a visit there last weekend. Obviously, you covering Penn State. What did he think at that visit? And I guess Penn State was Penn State going to offer him at some point, or was he?
No, I can tell you that they liked him. They liked him as a prospect. They think he has a bright future. But they already have 3 4-star offensive line commits, and they probably have a 4th one coming in the next couple of weeks for them. I don't know how much further they'll go. They're pursuing Kevin Haywood, who's also a Rutgers target, and they're the favorites for him as well. I think given he was down the board a bit for them, but this is still a very good commit. I think he's got a ton of tools, a ton of potential. These are the kids you have to land if you're Rutgers.
Yep.
You're not going to land the 5 stars up in North Jersey. You're not going to land the 4 stars up in North Jersey for the most part. You have to land the kids that are landable, and this is one of those. And I think this is a really good get for Rutgers. Pairing him with Kenny Jones, that's 2 interior guys going forward that I think have a really bright future. And then you gotta get a tackle. Got to get at least one, if not 2.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next. So Rivals has him listed as an offensive tackle. He certainly has the size to play tackle at the next level, but they're looking at him as an interior guy, likely a guard.
Yeah, he'll be a guard in the future. In my opinion, maybe you try him at tackle because we've seen this staff bump guys in and out. We've seen J.D. Dorenzo, for example, came in as a projected tackle for Rutgers and went right to guard almost immediately, and then. Willie Tyler had some struggles, and they're like, all right, shit, back to tackle. They'll rotate guys in and out. I think this guy, though, Judah Pruitt is definitely a future guard in this aspect. And we could talk about the tackle targets if you really want to.
Yeah, I guess kind of it's often assumed that to play tackle, you need to be like a 6'4" to 6'7" guy with over
Mm-hmm.
300 pounds, but it's more so about your mobility and how much, lateral
Yeah.
quickness you have to kind of, do those kick blocks and stop edge defenders. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess talk to why you think he's more of a guard prospect than a tackle.
He just his frame. He's not. I think he's what a legit 350. He's probably a legit 315. Looking at his
Mm.
pictures right now. I haven't seen him in person just yet. I know he'll be at one of the camps this summer, so I'll get a good chance to see him. He'll be at our rivals camp as well in May, which I think is in Piscataway this year. But regardless, yeah, I just don't think he has the speed or the footwork in order to be kind of moved off that tackle spot or to move away from that guard spot. Tackles, you want to be a little more athletic. You want that 6, and it seems like Shiano wants that 6'6" or up build. That's like a 275 guy that I can pack some pounds on and still keep that speed with him and the good footwork. And that's where a guy like maybe a Jack Hines comes into play, and he's on campus as well this Saturday for I want to say the second time this summer or spring. I mean, yes, he was on March 4th, and now he's back for a spring game or spring practice visit. You get to see the scrimmage. I think he's one that's getting closer to committing to Rutgers. I think they have a really good shot there. So yeah, I mean, in terms of build, they want like a little bit taller, but a little bit leaner for tackles. And then in terms of guards, you want a little bit fatter, but a little bit shorter, which is kind
That
of
makes
obvious.
sense.
Yeah.
So how many more offensive linemen do you think the staff takes in this class? They're at 2 now.
Ideally, I'd say you get 3 to 4 per class. Probably 4 per class, actually, the more I look into it. Maybe 5, depending on if the right guy wants to come on board. And
Sure.
you kind of just go from there. I know they're doing pretty good. They had, who was the one? I think they had Cubberly on campus recently, if I recall correctly.
Colin
But
Cubberley.
believe Marcus Harrison's another guy who was on campus recently. However, he just got a Georgia offer, so I'd probably just see. I don't know how committable it is. I think it's one of those, hey, come to camp offers, but they're doing well in Florida too. Ty Hilton's a massive tackle. Raynor Andrews is one that's interesting. Zafir Stewart's down to Rutgers, Nebraska, and Penn State. He's one to keep an eye on. Yeah, I would probably say 3 to 4 in this class. Just because you have so many young linemen still. You have that lineman room has what 18 scholarship guys.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it's like I think you'll see some attrition there post spring, but yeah, I would say 3 to 4 right now.
Gotcha. So obviously a lot of kids on campus right now. Who are some of the other top visitors for today?
So today they have
Monty being Keener. Saturday the 22nd.
Yes.
By the way.
Today they have Monty Keener, Michigan tight end. He has they want 2 tight ends in this class. They need to rebuild that room. It's a struggle right now. They don't have a lot of weapons there, but a lot of developmental guys, but they want to get at least 2 in this class. He's out of Michigan, and it's kind of what I mentioned in the previous podcast with the Pilaf podcast, that they're trying to go more Midwest and try to get more of those the Midwestern guys and hit those Big Ten recruiting areas for the most part. So he's one to really keep a close eye on. I know he has Rutgers. I want to say he has like 17 offers. He's got Minnesota.
Wow.
He was recruited by Shiraka back then at Minnesota when he got that offer, I believe. I think that's his only other Power 5 at the moment, but he's been visiting a lot of different places. He's got like a lot of G5s from the Midwest, like Central Michigan, Kent State, Akron, everyone you kind of expect, but he's one to keep a close eye on. Just looking up and down the list, there's a Duke commit that's coming to on campus in Lawrenceville Prep. Cornerback in Austin Stoll. He got an early Duke offer and just said, screw it, I'm committing on the spot, which is probably the smartest thing you could do now. Reserve your spot and kind of go from there. But the fact that he's still taking visits is really interesting to me, and he's a really smart kid. He's got a bunch of Ivy League offers, and they don't have a cornerback committed technically right now. I wouldn't be shocked if he got an offer following the visit. Just going up and down the list. LaSalle College offensive lineman Michael Carroll. He's 2025, mind you, but he's on campus. He only has one offer from Temple, but we have him. I like his potential a lot. We have him ranked as, I think, a top 12 kid in Pennsylvania for the 2025 class. And he's a kid that I think you should be able to snag. You're doing well at LaSalle College with Sam Brown, who's a budding star at this point, if you want to call him that.
Yep.
So that's a good kid to get back on campus. And one kid that really intrigues me His name's Kelvin Searcy II. He's coming up from Skipstone Academy down in Georgia. Now, he's only been on, from what I can tell, he's only been on a couple visits. He's been to Rutgers, which he came to back in November. He's been to Bama, which he was at the camp in June. But he's massive. He's 6'8", he's 300 pounds, and Greg Schiano's known for, at this point, for finding massive offensive linemen that no one's heard about and turning them into pretty solid tackles, a la Holland Pierce. So he's one to keep a close eye on too. I don't know if they'll offer him, but he is an intriguing kid. He came to our Rivals Combine down in Atlanta last year, I think it was, and he ended up earning an invite to the Rivals camp after posting some solid numbers. But he's like, we measured him. He's a legit 6'8", 300 pounds, give or take. Obviously a couple pounds when it comes to playing time, but he's one to keep a close eye on just because he's another lineman and he's massive. And like I said, that's kind of Schiano's MO at this point with linemen.
Yeah, so stay tuned because obviously with this being the 5th commitment of the class, there's a lot more room to grow this class, and this is around the time of year where a lot of commitments tend to happen now, given that the recruiting schedule has been pushed up. So wouldn't be surprised if we're doing a couple more of these other instant reactions in the near future.
It's nice to have him back a little bit. We went from not recording like once a week, maybe if that, and now it's like, all right, here's 3 in 1 week.
I know, it's crazy. And we want to thank you guys again for listening and for rating and reviewing. We've seen a massive uptick in the number of plays we've gotten, so that's awesome. If you haven't already, if you're new to the show, if you like what you're hearing, please give us a rate and review in your favorite podcasting app. Follow us on YouTube because we also post all our podcasts there as well. And Richie posts every single interview with coaches, press conferences, things like that there as well. So basically anything Rutgers related, you go to the Rutgers Rivals YouTube page, you're going to get overwhelmed with content. He's putting up 2-3 videos a day. He's crushing it. So for me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Knight Report podcast, signing off.